Let's take a journey together and see how this pot was made. It was made by a firing method that American potters embraced. From a Japanese firing tradition that is centuries old. And how American potters took that tradition into new realms and developed an entirely new aesthetic from Japanese Raku. I like to start out my firings with insulated bricks so that I can set the pots on top, and that prevents them from cracking when I place them in a hot kiln. I also like to glaze my pots the day before so that they have enough time to dry and that they won't blow any glaze off during the firing process. You can tell right away when the glaze is beginning to melt because it will begin to expel gases from the materials contained in the glaze ingredients. It will create little bubbles which will eventually settle down, and you'll be able to see it really glassy, and you'll know that your pots are ready to pull out. I also use a thermocouple with a digital reader so that I can compare these observations with the temperature inside the kiln. When you know that your pots are ready to pull out of the kiln, make sure that you're completely set up for the next step. The pots will be placed inside of a can full of combustibles. The hot pots will ignite the combustible inside the can and reduce the amount of oxygen inside. The reduced amounts of oxygen will bring out the colors in the surfaces of the glaze. We refer to this as reduction. Potters will experiment with all sorts of different combustible materials for the reduction process. I prefer simple pine shavings, and I place them in the shape of a nest. At this point, I'm ready to put in the next round. This kiln started off as just a metal drum that I measured, cut, and grinded smooth, with a port at the bottom. I then reinforced the back with 1/8" steel to help reinforce the hinge so that I could open and close the lid. The interior of the kiln is lined with insulwool and is secured with high temperature element wire. I also poured high temperature castable for the base, and that leveled off for a great surface to build kiln shelves off of. This kiln is really versatile in that I could also fire it to cone 10 if I double the amount of insulwool on the interior. It serves as a great test kiln. One of the things I love about Raku is that you can fire multiple groups of pottery in one day. It's also a great way to learn how to fire and learn the effects of reduction on the surfaces of pots. It's a great way to start firing at a really economical price. The combustibles will leave amazing flame prints on the side of the pot, and this is the American developed aesthetic. The ingredient we use to create these colors is copper, and it can create all sorts of different coloring effects, including copper penny. The white crackle glaze is more of a traditional Japanese style, so this is a marrying of the American aesthetic and the Japanese tradition.